All right, well, we're going to range a little farther afield here and go to Utah and ask Tammy Eatough to join us now. And Tammy comes from Ogden, Utah's, she's project manager there for the GSA. Welcome to Washington.
Morning.
We're happy to have you here. You know what we say about Washington, don't you? The definition of a good friend is someone who stabs you in the chest. So we just.
I was going to say there's lots of things I say about Washington.
You know, as I tell my children who I've raised here, just remember, kids, it's not enough to succeed. Your friends must fail. This is Washington. But we want all of you to succeed. So you've got a LEED certified building that you've been working on, right?
That's correct. Yes.
All right. So and we've got your video. So let's take a look.
In 2004, a vision was realized in Ogden, Utah, when an industrial building that had stood derelict for 5 decades reopened as first-class office space for 700 employees. As part of its commitment to sustainable communities, the U.S. General Services Administration led a public-private partnership in a collaborative, place-based approach to federal development, ultimately resulting in the revitalization of the local economy. Ogden, once the hub of regional commerce, was in decline by the 1950s. But city leadership was determined to bring new life to its central business district. Working with the stakeholders, GSA selected the site for modern office space for the Internal Revenue Service.
GSA runs the largest commercial office inventory in the country. It's a stable inventory. We have an opportunity to be a green proving ground for sustainability in the country, and we're going to consciously do that everywhere we can.
The $12 million rehabilitation of the 1906 Scowcroft building, a vacant brick warehouse, integrated preservation with green approaches, resulting in Utah's first LEED certified building to qualify for federal historic preservation tax credits. The building retains many historic features, including timber framing, wood ceilings, and brick walls, while incorporating innovative components such as high-efficiency heating and cooling system and 2 atria to bring daylight to the building's core. The benefits are many. New employees downtown, expanded public transportation, and a newly energized neighborhood. This served as a catalyst for other investment, ranging from streetscape improvements to the first new downtown housing in a century. Today in Ogden, Mayor Matthew Godfrey, a champion of the project, says, "We now have people living where they work and working where they shop and play. This area has become a community of choice once more." The revitalization of downtown Ogden is well underway, thanks to a collaborative partnership, imaginative approach, and visionary leadership.
Thanks.
So you're telling us this has been a magnet that's way beyond just the building.
Yes, actually the Scowcroft building was the second. You had some pictures of another building, the Boyles Furniture Warehouse there, potentially historic building. That was our first development downtown, and the Scowcroft building came along after that. And it really was a magnet to help the downtown develop and just bring a lot more people to live and work down there.
Ron Sims, kick it off.
Well, I love the building. I'm in a building right now that the late Secretary Jack Kemp called 10 floors a basement. And so when I see this innovative work being done, because it allows human beings to do what human beings should do with sustainable building, to be able to see the light and enjoy the light. So if you could help us implode our building, we'll put all of us, I'm gonna grab this video and campaign and say, see what a good building looks like, and because it's, what I liked about it is you took an old structure and you made it living for people inside the building, and that's so important in this age.
Twitter question for the, I'm going to give it to the mayor. Is it easier to raise and rebuild or overhaul an existing facility to green standards like that? Old buildings, expensive, they're kind of quirky, right? Sometimes it's easier to take it down?
Well, GSA helped us move a building across the street that was an historic building, so we appreciate that. Actually, I think we find that reusing a building is really one of the most energy conscious things we can do. You're not having to have new materials, you're taking advantage of the fabric of the community and the historic fabric of an area. So I think it brings great benefit, and it can be cost effective. It's certainly more expensive, takes more time. Any of us, like myself, who've lived in old houses know that it takes more work, it takes more attention, it takes more creativity.
But Laura, it takes more money.
It takes more money, but, you know, breathing life into these historic buildings, there's over 1 million historic buildings registered across the country. How do you create the incentives for the government and the private sector to create these changes? You have the material issues in the buildings, but you have innovations that can make them more cost effective. We've got to get the LEED certifications right for historic preservation and build that into the economic model. That's what's important at a policy level.
What's it mean for business?
I have to answer a different question, if I may. I've been on the speaker circuit lately at a lot of conferences, and you always get a different vibe from the conferences you're at. So at Government 2.0, it's, you know, 75% of the audience is using iPads and 110% are tweeting throughout. You go to a DoD conference and it's F-16s flying in videos. This conference rocks. The vibe of this and these videos are fantastic. So again, I come back to fantastic, and I like the notion that it's done in historic buildings. How do we get early stage technology companies involved in projects like this, not only to help execute that building, so that when we're replicating and scaling, those are the kinds of companies.
Well, did you? How did you?
Well, we had, really, the team that put this together, it was the GSA project manager, but the city of Ogden was incredibly willing to work with us. The street improvements, the site improvements, being part of the historic district, they were able to get some grants and things that were tossed into the project to help the outside and the sidewalks and things happen. Cooper Robert Simonson, the architect, they had done a lot of historic preservation, and so they really brought to the table a lot of knowledge and things from their past. They hadn't done a lot of LEED at that time because 2004, we would be planning it prior to that, 2003 and prior. So we really were, as a team, looking throughout the design process for things that we could do. This building hadn't been occupied in 50 years. It had resident pigeons.
It what?
Resident pigeons.
Okay.
Yeah, in great quantity. And,
I hope you put that to work, too. Bill from the audience asks, how did GSA take advantage of any tax credits in all of this? Was there?
Actually, it's not owned by us. It's a leased building, and so our lessor was able to do that. GSA ourselves could not apply for the tax credits, but our lessor did, and through that came back to us in the rental rate.
Mr. Secretary.
I think you have to look at cost, though, and I'll give you an example. If you look at commercial structures in poor areas, anywhere in the United States, they burn hotter than newly developed properties. And so our issue has been on the HUD side that means that poor people are going to be living in any area, in any metropolitan area, their condition of daily living will be exacerbated anytime it gets warm. And they will normally have temperatures at 4 to 6 degrees higher than in a neighborhood that's newly developed, because materials do have an impact. So I would say there are times when we would say tear it all down and build something new that has new materials that are more reflective and healthier for the residents.
You agree with that?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I think, living in a city where we have worked hard to try to preserve our historic character and yet build new, there are times you have a building that isn't worth saving, or you have a building that is so inefficient. But the other part of this that I think is important is that GSA was investing in the heart of a downtown community where there's good transportation access, and it helps both revitalize the downtown area, which we know Ogden needs and has done very well with, but it also makes it easier for all the employees to get there using transit. It reduces the cost of living for everybody who's involved with the building. So really, I mean, I applaud GSA on this, and too many times we see government structures going to the edge of town or outside of town, and that really just creates further problems in terms of energy use for everybody.
Well, Tammy, thanks very much. I hope you're here for a few days, and despite what I said about Washington, it's a great town.
Yeah,
so enjoy it, and thank you very much.
Thank you.